Welcome to the Feel Alive at Work online retreat. I'm Karen Hoffman of A Work Life You Love. I'm the host of the retreat and a coach specializing in helping people create work lives that are both fulfilling and personally sustainable. In this session, I'm speaking with Susan Shloss. I'm so glad that Susan is part of this retreat because she has a presence that's calm and grounded and alive and joyful all at the same time. And because she knows a lot about what people think and believe about money, how it can get in our way, and how to get to know what our money blocks are and overcome them. And this is really helpful if you are contemplating making a change in your work, one of the foundational areas of your life. I want to say a few words about Susan's background and her current work. She's a certified money coach. She supports clients to grow their financial literacy, confidence, and fulfillment. And in this work, she draws on psychology, spirituality, and culture. Susan offers her clients powerful tools in an environment of compassion and respect. And with this combination, she supports her clients to make deep shifts. Last but not least, Susan aspires to facilitate transformation for all who struggle with money. Welcome, Susan. I give you a very warm welcome.
Thank you so much, Karen. What a pleasure to be here with you.
There are a lot of people who are not fulfilled in their work and would like to change that, but they haven't yet because they feel that they would need to give up their current job or business in order to do something new. And, many of us are dependent on our current jobs or businesses. So a lot of people get stuck there. And you're going to be talking about that, about the kinds of obstacles that people encounter and in that situation and how to resolve and move past them. But before diving into that, I want to ask you, Susan, if you could tell us a little bit about your relationship to the topic of creating a fulfilling work life and your awareness of thoughts and beliefs about money as you did that.
Absolutely. Yeah, so I started out with a degree in music therapy, and it sounded like the right thing for me because it brought together music and psychology. And I'm a musician, and I've always been interested in people and psychology. And so that was my beginning. And then I found out that those environments were really intense, and it was stressful and really not what I had imagined. And I ended up in the business world. And there I found out that I had kind of techie skills, and ended up doing word processing work. And at some point in that word processing work, I heard about this great place to work called Charles Schwab, which is an investment firm, most of you know. And what I did was I imagined what it would be like to work there because I heard it was a very employee focused company. And I got into the vibration of that person I thought I should be to get that job. And I did. I ended up moving over to Schwab. I was at headquarters. I did a variety of positions, and then I ended up getting my Series 7 and 9 licenses and doing investment specialist work and being doing the operations manager position for one of the branches. So that was a huge opportunity for me to start to get new skills. And that was my first foray into the money world, which I really hadn't planned. So a lot of times it's been, oh, what's the next right thing? Well, this doesn't feel quite right because of this. What would make it better? What's the next right thing? Where's the door? What can I do? What education can I get that will take me to that next right thing? So that inspired me to get those licenses and then have other opportunities. Then there was a point at Schwab where I really didn't want to work for a large firm. There's a lot of drama, in a big corporation like that. And I wanted to have the freedom to take a vacation when I wanted to take a vacation. And it really also depended a lot on who your boss is, in those environments. And you don't have control over that. So I did go out and I quit my job. I didn't have anything lined up yet. And I did some different things. I ended up working for a friend who was doing loans, and then I ended up working for another friend who was doing the accounting for a real estate company. And that's when I brought those kind of techie skills in and learned bookkeeping. Then I was able gradually, and this is something to listen to because that firm allowed me from the beginning to have a plan that I would start to get my own clients and reduce my hours over time. And what a beautiful opportunity that was to be able to do that. So I ended up starting my own bookkeeping company. And over the years, took steps that were really scary, like taking over another room where I was living for my office. So I'd have a separate office at home, and then hiring my first employee, and then hiring more people till it got to the point where I wasn't doing the bookkeeping at all. I was overseeing the business. And that's when I started thinking about the money coaching career. And I felt like I needed to really clean up my own finances before I was ready to help other people. So when I did pay off all my debts, I looked for a training program and I went to the Money Coaching Institute for the certification that I have now. And money coaching has always been something I'm passionate about. And I had that bookkeeping business income to support me in starting something that was really, really different. Bookkeeping did not require marketing. I just had some people who referred clients to me a lot. I had a couple of, power partners, you could say, who referred a lot of clients to me. And I never had to do any marketing. So it was a really different story to be a coach. And then public speaking and doing classes and workshops, which I really loved, all of that. So that was the beginning of money coaching. And it's quite a journey, having a coaching business, being self-employed, if you can do that at something that you love, is wonderful to have that time freedom. I love it.
Wow. It's wonderful to hear your story. I've heard you talk about parts of it before, and it's just wonderful to hear that summary. I think it really demonstrates a lot to our audience about um, changing your work life and the story about money, about how to manage it financially as you change your work life. Um, yeah, so I wonder, I was saying before that there are a lot of people for whom money feels like an obstacle to creating, they might be in a job or in a business where they're not satisfied and they would like to change that situation, but they feel that they can't because they can't afford it financially. And, they wind up feeling that they're in a double bind, like, "Oh, I'll just stay here. That doesn't work. No, I'll do something different. Well, that doesn't work. And they don't know how to get out of it. And so I wanted to ask you, Susan, from your point of view, what's happening in that situation? And is the double bind only perceived or is it real? And is there a way to get out of it?
It's such a deep question, really. Our thoughts have such an impact on what shows up in our lives. And so it is a discipline to keep our hearts open, to keep our minds open, and to keep our thoughts in alignment with our visions. And so I do recommend that people maybe make a list of intentions in a positive way, starting with I am. I use this as a tool in my work. I am creating the work that I love. I am learning how to move from an employee to my own business, things that are affirmative that change our thinking, and then notice when those thoughts of, oh, there's no way I'll be able to do this. Like we can really get into story. And I'll share a little bit about the money archetypes the money victim is the one that has these stories. And we can be so convinced by our stories, and they probably come from early imprints in our life. So they just are all we know, you know. So we have to start telling a different story that anything's possible, and we don't have to know how it's going to happen.
Hmm.
And I suggest bringing ritual into it too.
Hmm.
If you have an altar, to put your vision on your altar, maybe do a vision board, light a candle, and before you start to do your research on what it is that you want to do, pray. No, pray for guidance. But it's absolutely possible.
And so, for people out there who are feeling stuck, these are some things that are small scale, like cultivating some awareness of your thoughts, and um, getting connected with what is your intention, whether or not you think it's realistic, and then being aware of those, um, the negative thinking and catching yourself when you're doing that. Um, so these are some ways that people can start to get unstuck. Is there more that you wanted to say about that, about money archetypes?
What I was going to say is that one thing you can do is to start saving for a transition. Um, and, so that you have a little nest egg that you can fall back on. And I recently went through a little slump in my money coaching business because I had personal stuff going on, and that can affect self-employment, because it's so energetically sensitive. And I wasn't feeling a strong direction with my marketing at the time. And what I focused on was creativity. I focused on what was bringing me juice. And that can be really helpful to create the frequency of happiness and joy and fun, whatever you're doing. That will help to keep the doors open, and that helped lead me to my next strategy with my marketing.
So there could be people who think, I have to get really serious about this and work really hard. But another approach would be to say, what what makes me happy? Because you need to have a steady input of that if you're going to succeed in whatever it is that you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Follow the juice.
Beautiful. Um, and so in your story, you didn't just, well, when you left your one of your jobs, you quit without anything else lined up. But you picked up other jobs. And then later in your life, if I remember correctly what you said, that you were in a position to save and create a cushion so that you could start your go out on your own in bookkeeping. Um, and that you're recommending saving, creating a cushion. For whatever it is people want to do, whether that's to start their own business or change their work in whatever way they want to change it. About saving, um, there are questions about that too. So for people who aren't currently saving um, for the purpose of creating a better life or for whatever reason, um, and I think it's pretty common if you're not saving to feel that you can't or that you don't know how to. It doesn't mean that you can't or you won't learn how to, but there's that feeling. Do you have advice for those people?
Yeah, this goes into the practical side of what I teach people and support them in, and that would be associated with the money warrior. So developing subsystems for tracking so that, first of all, you can see where you're spending and if it's in alignment with what your vision is. You know, is there room to maybe cut back on expenses or And I don't suggest that people, get excessively frugal, but if you're looking to do a transition, I brought that word frugal in recently. And that really was kind of a dirty word for me before, but it can be good to just have some discipline around things or maybe increase one's awareness. And then saving at whatever level you can, even if it's $5 a month, setting up automatic transfers is the best way to save without thinking about it. And then having the real commitment to not dip into that unless it's truly an emergency. And I suggest that people save for specific areas in your life too. I save for vacation. I have separate divisions in my savings for vacation, health, household. Those are three, and auto expenses. So whatever it is that, are your areas that you might need spending in unexpectedly or want to spend in unexpectedly, then it's great to start to put little pieces away for that and really learning what your values are in terms of your spending. So if your priority is to make a change in your career, then maybe other things can take a background for a while so that you can start to put some money aside for that.
And so what you're describing here is, for people who aren't saving, or do it sporadically, just don't have that much experience or knowledge about it. You're talking about, really growing awareness of what you're spending, and getting really intentional about that. And you have to have the awareness first in order to be intentional about that. And then you can start small, make it regular, make it automatic, and dedicate it to an area. And then pretty soon you can have multiple areas that you're putting a little bit away at first and maybe a little bit more. And you can go from, with some awareness and perhaps some support, you can go from not saving to, really having a plan for saving for the things that you want. Yeah.
It's a whole change of mindset where we're taking up more space in the world. And it feels really good to do that.
Do you want to say something more about that, taking up more space in the world?
If you picture the energy of having, let's say, $10,000 in a savings account where you've never really been able to hold on to anything, how different does that feel in your body?
Mm.
It's like taking up space energetically.
Yeah. Wow. Taking up space, a really different feeling to imagine something like that you once didn't have and then you would have. I understand. It's great to have that concrete example. So I want to thank you, for sharing your knowledge and experience with us. It's really helpful and really valuable. And I understand that you also have a gift available for our audience. Would you like to tell us about it?
I have a couple things I'd like to offer. One is the money type quiz. And you can go to my site at moneywisdomcoach.com and click on the take the quiz link, and you'll find out where your archetypes are right now. And it can be really informative. And I do offer a complimentary consultation to go over those and get some insights and tips to move from the challenging archetypes to the empowering ones. And then I also have the 10 sacred practices to amplify your prosperity frequency. And this is the spiritual side of things where I give you some really beautiful rituals that you can do that don't take very long and can really help you to have that focus of bringing that spiritual energy into your relationship with money.
I highly recommend that everybody go and download the money archetype quiz and the spiritual practices guide. Susan talked a little bit about a couple of money archetypes, but there are more. How many are there?
There are 8.
8. And it's really interesting to take the quiz and see which ones, you probably won't be just fully within one. There probably will be more than one. And just see, where you are, what kind of money archetype you are. And it's very enlightening. It's very interesting and even fun. And I also, Susan, I had a look at your spiritual practices, and it's beautiful. It's so helpful, and it's so important to bring that aspect into your life and your ambitions and the things you want to do. So I really encourage everyone to go and get those gifts. They're really lovely. They're really lovely. So
Thank you.
yeah, yeah. So to close our conversation, I wonder if you could share with our listeners, what is the one quality or value that you think is the most important to embrace in order to cultivate a healthier relationship with money and to overcome money blocks?
I would say to keep an open mind and stay in your heart, and bring mindfulness to your relationship with money so that you notice what your thoughts are around it. And also, when you're engaging with money, to remain mindful so that if there's anxiety, you can stay grounded. Basically, having a loving relationship with money.
Mm. Love in relationship to oneself.
Loving relationship with money and to oneself both. So yeah, bringing compassion to yourself in your relationship with money. People project a lot of things onto money. And so it's like any other relationship. We project onto all of our relationships, right? And so with money, we can project onto money, our fears, our anxieties, our disappointments. And if we can cultivate a loving relationship with money, that can be very transformative.
Beautiful. That's lovely. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I'm so grateful that you joined us here today, and I'm grateful for you sharing your wisdom with us. Thank you very much, Susan.
Thank you so much, Karen. Thank you for holding this beautiful event, and just wishing you every success.
Thank you. And thank you to everyone for tuning in.